Hello there. Well, first of all, I suppose I should confess that I'm no longer the enigmatic gamer, because you can see who I am. But anyway, I'm responding to the recent video from Von Ketteringham and a few of the other chappies. It's really by way of an update as well, I think, because I haven't done any videos for quite some time now. That's probably because I haven't done a great deal of painting or productivity. Anyway, start off with the question about hobbies that people had raised. Other than wargaming, I've not got very many really, and I suppose to that extent this is going to be a pretty boring video for you. I've been playing war games since I was about 12, 14 years old, and I was 65 in February of this year. So I've been doing it quite a long time. I've always enjoyed the research associated with it, and I've found that really I don't need any more hobbies, because wargaming for me has so many different facets: historical research, battlefield visits, uniforms, orders of battle, battle accounts, biographies, you name it really. It's all part and parcel of the rich tapestry that this hobby provides. I've always had an interest in steam trains, because as a lad steam trains were still in existence. They basically finished in 1968 in general terms, by which time I was still a youngster and interested in them. I've been interested in steam trains and indeed trains ever since. I've had an interest in model railways, which actually predated wargaming. I was very interested in model railways, and then somebody introduced me at school to the idea of wargaming, Donald Featherston's book and so on, and I was immediately hooked. And so I, much to my dad's surprise, managed to sell off my entire model railway collection, and started investing in vast numbers of Airfix figures, because in those days they didn't have metal figures really, or I wasn't aware of them. Anyway, so really it's wargaming first, second, and model railways third, I suppose. I was going to build a model railway here at home. I did start. It was a massive undertaking, and basically I never finished it. So I decided to abandon the idea and go down the route of a war games room, which I've done previous videos on. I've got a very understanding wife. She doesn't suffer my hobby, she actually supports me in it, and she's very interested in history and battlefield tours and so forth, and so I'm pleased that it's something that I can share with her. That's really it on the hobby front, because as I said, it's all associated with wargaming. It's history, reading, watching videos and making visits. I'm quite a lazy person. I don't do sport. I used to be keen on football when I was a youngster. I used to go and watch Manchester United. I'm not bothered about football now. Don't follow football. Don't follow sport. Just don't. Don't do any exercise. Tried joining gyms. Hated it. Just really like ploughing my own furrow. Without getting too heavy. I'm a bit of a misanthrope. I finished work officially in July of 2017, but I'd been off work for the best part of 18 months before then due to stress. I was a lawyer, and I had a very, very stressful job, and in the end it got the better of me. So I officially finished work then, and I officially retired. on the 25th of February this year, and got my bus pass in July. So I like my own company. I have got a number of wargaming buddies. I do enjoy thoroughly the social side of wargaming. I've tried being a Wargames Club member a couple of times, different clubs. It didn't really suit me. When I was younger it did, because it was all competition gaming and, 6th edition and that sort of stuff. But as I became a bit more older, I suppose, when I lost an interest really. I lost the idea of competitive gaming, and now frankly I can't stand it. Had quite a gap of wargaming when my two sons were born, and they're now grown up. They've taken a bit of an interest in wargaming, not very much, but a little bit of an interest. So we've had a bit of fun with them. And now I spend most of my days what you might call pottering, I suppose. I've not really got used to it. The idea that actually I don't have to do anything if I don't want to, and that is a real, from somebody who's been completely obsessed with perfection, diary management and all this sort of thing. It's really weird, and it's taking me a while to settle into it. I thought that as soon as I'd retired, officially that is, as opposed to being on sick leave with stress, I thought that I would probably plough through my lead mounting and plastic mounting very quickly indeed, but I haven't done. In fact, I've gone through a period when I actually did very little to no painting. I've been doing French Napoleonics for absolutely ages now, and I mean ages, years. And I came across somebody who actually painted professionally at a fairly reasonable price, and his standard was good enough from my point of view. So what I actually did was I got him to paint some stuff for me. I painted one unit of Prussians recently, Napoleonic Prussians, about 39 figures. Unlike Fraser, who paints like a machine, it took me absolutely ages, and I really didn't enjoy doing it. So when this guy came along, I thought, well, why not? So basically, I got him to paint for me, and that's what he's done. And I've now got, I think, 6 battalions of Prussian infantry, line infantry. I've got quite a bit of cavalry, and he's going to do some Landwehr for me. Happily, I met up some time back with a very old wargaming chum who I'd been in touch with occasionally, but not to any great extent. And I met up with him and we started wargaming at his place and at mine. And we've now got to the stage where we can sort of split projects jointly. So instead of my doing 2 sides for every battle or army, I've been able to get him to, he's done a bit, and I'm doing a bit. So that way we split the load a bit, and it means that things get done. Because the tendency is, from my point of view, is just simply to paint, not finish something, get a bit fed up with it, buy something else and start painting that. And then the cycle, it continues. So I end up with loads of partly finished projects. So what I did decide to do when I retired was I decided to have a clear out and get rid of stuff that I didn't think I'd really game with or hadn't gamed with. I know that that there are those who say you should never sell anything with wargaming. I'm beginning to think that that's true in certain respects, because I sold a large 28mm 7 years, well, 2 7 years war armies, one for Prussia and one for France. And then blow me, didn't sort of 7 years war, Age of Reason warfare start to come back round with our little group. But anyway, that's the way it goes. I've just got rid of a load of 15mm Second World War American and German stuff, so I actually scrapped those, primarily because my eyesight's not particularly good. I've got a problem with my right eye that I can't read out of my right eye as a result of a retinal problem years and years ago. And I couldn't see these damn 15mm figures. They were so small. with camouflage and so on the battlefield. I couldn't see who the hell they were, so I thought, this is balmy, this, I'm going to get rid of them. So I have done that now. I am, I think, what you might call an old school wargamer. I do like the Don Featherstone idea of wargaming, which is it's got to be fun. And that's, I think, where I've fallen out with a few clubs. I'm not a competitive gamer. I go there I go to game for fun, and if it's not fun, then I'm not going to do it. Happily, as I say, I have a group of friends, acquaintances who are of the same mind, and so we're now doing quite well, which is good from my point of view, because rather than simply collecting figures and painting them, I'm actually getting to play with them, which is great. I'm still culling my collection. I'm still cutting it down to what I think are manageable proportions, and it's a slow process, but we're getting there eventually. My wife thinks that I'm trying to build some kind of an eBay empire, but I'm not really. I'm actually recycling the money that I get soon gets spent on Ooh Shiny something else. Anyway, so that's it really. As I said, pretty boring. It's wargaming, a little bit of model railways. I do like going to visit heritage railways. Fortunately, where I live, there are a couple nearby which I can go and see, and my wife enjoys doing that. On the subject of my wife, we've been married. We'll have been married, I think, 13 years next month. She's very, very supportive when it comes to the hobby. She comes to shows with me when I'm not going with my other pals, as I say, she's not one of these wargaming widows. She has her own hobbies. We're not joined at the hip, but I do like spending time with her. And when I'm not wargaming or painting and so forth, then I'm a bit of a home bird. We like to go out for meals, drinks, and drop of wine, that sort of stuff, basically. So that's it really. I'm not going to bore you with any more. I'm not going to start listing all the stuff that I've painted recently. There is some stuff that I have painted. What I've been doing since my French project is coming to an end now. I think there are only 2 more units and then the French are finished, and that'll be a cause for celebration. I think I must have been doing them 10 years, maybe even longer. I think it's probably longer, but anyway. With a break while I've done other things. So the French are coming to an end. I've actually got far too many figures to play with. This is another thing that I'll just digress briefly, which I've discussed with this colleague of mine, a friend of mine, is that the tendency is to want to build up an army, for example, from an order of battle. And sometimes I get a bit carried away because I decide I want to need 15 battalions of this and 5 regiments of cavalry. But there's only so much time and there's only so much space to deploy these things. So the French are really the big project. I think I'll have about 21 battalions at sort of, I think that's an average of 36 and 24 man battalions. But I'll have about 21 battalions of French when they're done. Plus something like about, I think, 6 regiments of cavalry, and they're an average of about 12 each. So it's an awful lot. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do small projects now. I've got a few in line. I'm really reading up at the moment on the War of Spanish Succession, and I was particularly interested in Victor Seiner's videos when he did the comparison of the different figures, because I've not yet got to the stage where I'm going to commit. I do rather fancy Marlborough's Other War, as it's known, the Peninsular campaigns, because there's quite a wide range of troops there, and although the Flanders period of the War of Spanish Succession is very interesting, I rather think the idea of a peninsular element might be quite tempting, but that's one for the future. So that's it really. What I was saying was that because I'd virtually got to the end of the French and I'd got people painting stuff for me, I tended to try and paint little bits and pieces. I can show you just briefly and have a whinge at the same time, why not? These American War of Independence figures, these are Perry miniatures, American War of Independence, British Dragoons. There's a unit of 9 of them. Yesterday I came the closest that I've come in a long time to taking these outside into the garden and hammering the hell out of them, basically, because I have not enjoyed painting these. They were a nightmare to clean up. They were actually a disgrace when they arrived. There were so many worm casts, and you could see on that one possibly, but the bases were bent. The horse's legs were all over the shop, and I just thought they were bloody rubbish, quite honestly. But I persisted, and I've now just got to the stage where I'm just going to finish varnishing the figures, the riders today, and then I'll mount them. But they were horrible. I hated painting them, which I find is it's disappointing. It's a shame that, because I do enjoy my hobby. But I do feel, this is a bit of a rant, but I do feel that these days manufacturers are under a duty to ensure that when they provide castings, they're at least to some extent clean and can be painted fairly easily with only a minimum of further attention. To turn that lot out, which is basically like a load of scrap iron, was just a disgrace. It's something I've never encountered, for example, with Alec Brown of Front Rank. Alec's figures are spotless when they reach you. There's very, very little cleaning up done, and indeed that's the case with a number of other manufacturers. It may be that this is just a bad lot that I've got, but not too keen on it, and a bit disappointed. But anyway, rant over. They're done. All I've got to do now is base them, varnish them, base them, and they're finished, and I'll move on to something else. And I think I'll probably paint some Front Rank War of Spanish Succession generic cavalry, just to see how they turn out. Not sure about that yet. I'll see. Anyway, I think I've gone on for long enough. I hope this has been of some interest to you. I've been watching other people's videos with a great deal of interest. When it comes to nominating other people to speak, I think a lot of them have been nominated already, actually. I noticed Dan Buman has, and I'm very interested in what he does. He's done some fantastic figures. I don't think we've seen anything from Ringo for quite some time, Ringo Simpkins, and I'm interested to see how he's getting on. I know he was doing a railway as well as some other projects. So if he's watching, then Ringo, it might be nice to see what you're up to, mate. And I think that's probably, I said it was a bit boring. That's probably it, really. I do keep in touch by watching all the videos. I was thrilled to see one from Eric recently, Sarge, and I note that he's making a big move and going to a new job, and I think he seems to be such a nice guy. I really hope that the move and that the new job goes well for him, and I hope that all of your other projects are going well. Quick word to Fraser. I am absolutely astonished at your ability to paint, mate. The standard that you paint at is just staggering. And the volume you paint is just staggering. You could probably have done my French 18 battalions in about 6 months, whereas it's taken me over 10 years. But keep posting. I'm very interested. These Mardists look fascinating. It's that you're doing. I'm very interested in those. And indeed, to all of the guys and ladies out there who are posting stuff, it's great to see what you're doing. It's lovely to be part of the community. When I get some more figures sorted out, there is stuff that's painted that well, you might be interested in it. One of the reasons I don't post stuff very often is I think sometimes it'll just bore you to death, basically, and I don't want to do that. If there ain't anything interesting to say, then I haven't got anything to say, really. But anyway, I shall see what I can dig out for you and see about posting some more videos. But meanwhile, it's been nice talking to you. I hope that you've not fallen asleep, and take care. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers for now. can't switch the computer, the printer. Can't switch the bloody camera off.